Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast and website about reimagining your life. Thanks for joining me today to talk about our relationship with the world around us. So let's get started. If you like what you hear today, please leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends, send me a message. Thanks for joining me tonight to talk about how we relate to the world around us and the way we group our beliefs. And I'm going to have a little bit more on ageism, but this time in the AI language models, which kind of surprised me. Didn't surprise me really, but the degree surprised me. You know, we often think about our relationship with the world as kind of a single monolithic thing, kind of like, oh, I'm happy, I like this area, whatever it is. We kind of group everything into one heading. But, in reality, we hold multiple, sometimes quite contradictory relationships with our environment, our society, and even ourselves. If you think about it, you might love your job but hate your commute, or you could adore your city's culture but just can't stand the traffic. These aren't contradictions; they're the complex reality of our real world experiences. Recognizing these multiple relationships allows us to appreciate the nuances in our lives, and it helps us to understand that it's okay to have mixed feelings about things or about people or situations. This understanding can lead to a more balanced perspective and healthier interactions with the world around us. But how do we group unrelated beliefs together, and does it make things better or worse? Well, we talked about our brains love patterns and connections, even when they may not exist or really even make sense. We've talked about this in terms of our habits and self beliefs and a bias and our own bias towards more strongly believing things that we already believe. Sometimes this can be beneficial and it can help us form a kind of a coherent worldview or help us make quick decisions. For instance, if you believe in capitalism, you might also support animal rights and charitable causes, even though they're not directly related for many people, but they're related in your own view of the world. However, this tendency to group beliefs together can also lead us down kind of some unusual and unexpected paths. We might associate unrelated negative traits with the group we dislike or positive traits with a group that we particularly like, or assume that because someone agrees with us on one issue, they'll agree with us on every issue. And this can lead to inadvertent stereotyping and polarization and just not a real healthy way to look at the world. The key is to be aware of this tendency and critically examine our own belief systems. Are these beliefs truly related, or have we just grouped them together out of habit or convenience? The phrase you may have heard is correlation does not equal causation. And what that means is that just because two things seem to happen together, it doesn't necessarily mean that one of them is causing the other one of them to occur. We humans are very susceptible to finding patterns and assume causation in the most unusual places. And this includes things like, lottery ticket numbers, winning numbers, finding a lucky coin, the weather, and basically every other thing that happens in our lives. Many times it's just fun or kind of silly, but if we forget to do a reality check on our brain, we can kind of start to form some undesirable habits that just hold us back from reaching our goals. Moving on in a relationship to the world, we often forget a very important point that kind of raises its head, usually at pretty inopportune times, that nothing and no one is perfect. Not you, not me, not our leaders, not our idols, and that's okay. Instead of seeking perfection, which is an impossible standard, we should focus on finding the best parts of our imperfect world. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or settling for less. It means appreciating what's good while working to improve what isn't. For example, a friend might not be perfect, but they might be incredibly loyal. A job might have its frustrations, but it provides good, valuable experience or maybe pays well. By focusing on these positives and keeping realistic expectations, we can cultivate gratitude and resilience, and that in turn can motivate us to work on the aspects of our lives or the environment around us that need improvement. As I was recently working on some other projects, kind of talking about imperfection, working on some other projects using the latest shiny new AI tools, and they really were some of the latest releases of them and some new products that just came on the market within the past couple of months. I came across a topic which we've been speaking of more recently, which is ageism, but this time in the AI itself. Now, it's no shock that AI systems, trained on vast amounts of human-generated data, reflect societal biases, including ageism. but this manifests itself in many ways, in various ways. You might have seen stories about how AI sometimes struggles to recognize or accurately categorize older faces or different hair colors. But far more insidious is that language models often generate content that reinforces stereotypes about older people. Here, an interesting one to ponder then. Things like, do job recruitment AIs then inadvertently discriminate against older applicants? With more and more AI being used in every aspect of our lives, especially in things like medicine and the workplace, this has the potential to become a very serious problem. This issue highlights two important points. AI systems are only as unbiased as the data they're trained on and the humans who designed them, and we need diverse teams, including people from all ages, different backgrounds, working on training AI to help mitigate these biases. Addressing ageism in AI isn't just about fairness. It's about creating technology that truly serves us and represents everyone in a fair, but even beyond fair, reasonable context. Finally, one of our favorite topics, of course, is the power of opportunity and attitude. This all plays together. There's an overriding theme about all of this because this all dictates how we view the world around us. The world is contradictory. There's things that kind of reinforce those bad contradictions, but it's still up to us to interpret it into how we react to it. And on one of those, we've talked about manifestation, the idea that by focusing on positive thoughts, you can bring up positive realities into your life. And, while the idea of kind of literally manifesting things isn't strongly scientifically supported, there probably is a bit of truth here. We've talked about this kind of a little bit before. Manifestation is not necessarily making things magically appear, but rather it's about keeping an open mind and focusing on opportunities that align with your goals. When you maintain a positive attitude and stay focused on your objectives, you're more likely to notice opportunities you might otherwise have missed or possibly just dismissed. You'll have the confidence to seize on those opportunities. You'll probably be more likely to carry on in the face of setbacks and challenges. And the big one, you're probably more likely to attract like-minded people who can help you achieve your goals. So while we can't necessarily control everything that happens to us, we can control our attitude and where we focus our attention. And so in that sense, we certainly can manifest a completely different future from the one we have now. And that's one that can make a world of difference to us. So that's it for the evening. So how can you navigate all these multiple relationships in the world and on all the belief groupings that our brain is putting up for us? And remember that, it's up to us to decide how we want to interpret the world. So when you look at these various connections that you've decided occur in the world, and you'll wait to see what our homework is tonight, take a look at them and really see, are they serving you or are they just kind of holding you back because you've kind of made up facts in your mind? And remember that even though the world is imperfect, you can find the value in the imperfect world around you. Life may not be perfect, but by focusing on your vision and your goals, you'll be more able to live your life in a way that leads towards your vision of happiness. And don't believe everything AI says. Very important. It's just the world's biggest gossip, essentially. Repeating all that's learned, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good. Your homework, always optional, is to think about some of the things that you just know. Things about cultures, things about types of people, like, oh, he's a judge. I'm sure he wouldn't ride a motorcycle. Whatever it is, think about those things and write a couple of them down. Then extra points, if you look for look at those things and then look for ways in which they contradict when you actually look at the real world. Because that belief may not be quite as a concrete bit of knowledge that you always had assumed it was. And when you start testing it against real world facts, not your own biased view of the world, you might find that maybe some of your beliefs weren't quite so accurate after all. As always, please remember the many wars that are going on. We talk about this every week. Have wars in Ukraine, in the Middle East, Africa, lots of stuff going on in South America still, in Venezuela. That just refuses to stop. It's getting worse. There's a lot of things going on and a lot of natural disasters and suffering. If you can and you're able, ukr7.com. That's a page of links for Ukraine donations, and of course, World Central Kitchen. They do primarily food and aid in areas of disasters throughout the world. Um, there's a lot of things always going on, but particularly now, I just heard a statistic. I presume it's fairly accurate. There's something like almost 50% of the world's major leaders are being reelected this year. So it's just there's a lot of change going on. So as always, remember one of the best ways to care for yourself is to care for others. Doing that takes your view from inside yourself to outside yourself, changes your perspective on the world. If you can't make a donation, just a simple smile to somebody can help bring joy into the world in a little tiny bit and maybe make somebody's day a little better. So if you can and you're able, one of the sites, ukr7.com, wck.org, local donations, just be a nice person and make somebody's day a little bit nicer. As always, thank you for stopping by. If you found something interesting or useful, please pass it along, and please subscribe and hit that like button. And if not, please drop me a comment as to what you'd like to hear. Have a great week. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of, because that's the path to true contentment. Love and encouragement to everyone. See you next week on 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com. Thank you.